being here. I am so thrilled to see this crowd. And I want you to know they see you too. Do not think that your time here is not important, and don't think that it ends here today either. I am so honored to be with you today. I've grown very fond of my friends at CPL Action. You have quite a blessing in this group here in Minnesota because they help us across the nation. I'm going to talk to you today as a mom, as a grandma, as a citizen. We've allowed too much to be taken from us, and it's time we take it back. I want you to understand what we're dealing with. This is not somebody who's worried about my morals or somebody who's just worried about values and old-fashioned. Your children are being systematically exploited. Comprehensive sex education might as well be called calculated sexual exploitation. Colleges are now recommending 4-year-olds engage in sexual activity and role-playing. 6th graders in Washington State were asked as a class if any of them would question their identity. You've seen the explosion of kids with gender confusion and dysphoria. This didn't just happen. It's not in our water. It didn't come in a recalled item from the store. This is coming through your schools directly to your children. It strikes me curious that parents will spend large amounts of money on car seats, baby cribs, safety items for their kids, and then send them into the halls to be poisoned. It's not just that they're seeing images. Someone mentioned that these are marred in their brains. We now have studies that show pornography changes and alters the brain. It takes the volume out of the brain. It can lower, we know depression and anxiety, drug use, alcohol. We know it preps young ladies to become victims. And beyond that, you hear all this discussion right now amongst your politicians and amongst the left talking about division and hate and how we need to be friendly and get along. Do you know that people who view pornography, out of 22 studies, I think in 5 or 7 countries, they are more likely to be verbally aggressive, physically aggressive from viewing pornography? If the left wants us to get along, let's start by doing what we know makes common sense and not giving our kids filth that infiltrates their brain. The FBI will tell you this is what they do to groom children, to be trafficked. You know, in your schools, we have high numbers of teachers now molesting students. Your children are being prepped to be somebody else's victim. There are several reasons why. Because when the family is strong, society benefits. When the family is broken, society pays the cost. And there are those out there who want to destroy the very fabric of our nation, what's made us great as America, and the family is a great way to do it. And poisoning and tainting kids is an easy vehicle for schools. They've now institutionalized sex ed. How many of you are familiar with Common Core? Thank you. That's the one time I enjoy being booed, when I mention the Common Core. Now you're hearing about social emotional learning, where they're going to come in and analyze your student, track your student on things like mindsets and values and beliefs, and if your student doesn't go along with the latest fad of same-sex marriage, homosexuality, transgenderism, whatever it is, they have the ability to label your student, to withhold them from class, to change their career direction. We know graders were shamed when they didn't accept their teacher's same-sex marriage. You need to understand, your kids don't tell you what they're most afraid of. They don't come home and say what scared them the most at school. Don't think that even though you're there and you're a good parent, you know what's happening. I went to the classroom. I I asked what was going to happen in my child's classroom. I was told how great it was going to be. Well, I also wrote for the newspaper at the time, and I had parents start calling me about the quiz that came out in my son's class. Let me just see if I can find a couple questions. These are 4th and 5th graders 25 years ago. If a girl's been sexually abused, it's okay to call her a whore. Girls ought to expect to get their bras snapped when they first start wearing them. Girls like to be teased, especially about their bodies. And boys like to be teased in a sexual way. What ideas do you think that placed in the heads of 4th and 5th graders? And then we wonder why we have kids who are now being called to the principal's office for harassment. We just taught them how. It doesn't end there. We in Iowa, we're dealing with comprehensive sex ed. We had a wonderful state legislator, Representative Sandy Salmon, figured out this was our year to get rid of Planned Parenthood as our sex ed contractor. We did it, and the court's now telling us we have to pay them anyway. Here's what I think. If that's the case, I say we take it out of the judiciary budget. We have Planned Parenthood just like you. WISE Iowa Project. It is their work to institutionalize sex ed, and they are doing it around parents, on social media. The Common Core is the way they got it into the schools, and now by labeling your children, that's the way they're getting you to follow along as well, because parents are worried about scholarships. 43 states have loopholes that allow pornography in the classroom. When that happened to my student 25 years ago, I called the school and they would not tell me where this came from, what class it had been, and I finally said, if I come to the playground and I start asking these same questions to your students, will you have me removed? Absolutely. Will you have me arrested? Most possibly. I said, then you tell me what teacher I need to press charges against. We finally got attention. We had a school board overhaul that year. And I won't tell you, absolutely, and I won't tell you everything's okay, but we are working on it, and it's a process, and Cindy's right. We're not gonna leave here today and have it okay. Your next session's not going to correct it. This is an ongoing battle because as Christians, we're told to take a day of rest, right? Satan never takes a day off. And this curriculum is from the pits of hell. They know that they can mess with your kids. You are hearing talk about mental health, right? Do not let the school get involved in mental health. Listen, they started teaching sex and now your kids don't even know what sex they are. Do not let them anywhere near your child's mental health. It will be dangerous for every conservative out there, every Christian out there, and they are not equipped, nor do they have the time or the ability. We know why kids are frustrated. We're hearing sexual intercourse without affectionate brings them to cause frustrations, mental anxiety, depression, teens with alcohol, drug use, suicide. That's why we're dealing with these issues. We don't need more mental health training. We need less sex ed violations. We took God out. We removed the spiritual virtue, and now we have sexual violence, and they're scratching their heads why. Our kids are being irreparably violated. Their innocence stolen. They're being mentally molested, emotionally manipulated, sexually exploited. They can't adequately verbalize why, but it's because they're being spiritually tormented. They know what they're hearing doesn't fit with the Creator who designed them to be what He gave them as far as a gender and a sex. I'm going to say this to you. Thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. You warmed my heart. It was worth my 4-hour drive to see this group. Do not leave here and think that your work is done. And if you're wondering what you can do, God has given each and every one of you a gift. Find out what yours is in this battle and use it. Thank God for the legislators who are here. For all your other legislators, they are just like your children. They behave better when they know adults are watching. So I implore you, engage. Start talking to your friends and your neighbors. And if you think I am only one, what can one do? Have you ever been in the tent with a mosquito? One can make quite a difference, but look around you. You are not one. The Bible says where two or more are gathered in my name, I will hear your prayer. They have systemized sex ed, and they've weaponized you as a parent. If you dare speak out against it, they use your words against you. They call you intolerant. They call you homophobic. Do not let that frighten you. Do not live in fear. Stand on the God of your founding fathers. He promises us if we have a remnant, He is with us. And we start today with CPL action. And we're not giving up until we take this nation back and every child is safe and can have a healthy education without being violated when they walk through the school doors. Thank you.
Wow, thank you so much, Tamara. What a powerful message.